Welcome back. This is Sports Zone on Joy Prime. Get in touch with us. Use the hashtag SportsZone on Twitter. I will retweet those messages, share as many of them with the rest of our viewers as possible. What do you think is the reason many fans didn't go to the stadium to watch the Super Clash? We've talked an awful lot about why there's general low attendance at match venues, but the Super Clash is the one natural attractor of fans to the stadium. But we had one of the biggest shocks of our lives to see that the game that was also serving as a President's Cup with the president there and the free gate didn't even fill up to 30% of the stadium. What has gone wrong, in your opinion? I'm also interested from the United Liverpool fans' point of view. Where do you go from here now? Liverpool, does that mean that everything is back on track? And United, is this just a blip or a sign of greater problems with the club? Sports Zone brought to you by Hunters. My guests are seated tonight. It's Ghana month, so obviously you can see me in my regal smock. So I'm my guest, Sicho, a returning guest here, and for the first time on the show, I'm in the shadow.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. This is where the magic happens. Here we have very strong opinions about so many things. And I'm sure you have seen some of those things on social media.
Yes.
How are you, my brother?
I'm good.
You're good, eh?
I'm good.
That's right. That's what I was waiting for. Anyway, okay, guys, let's get the conversation started. Let's head straight to Accra Sports Stadium on Sunday, which was yesterday. What was around the attendance? And there were massive organizational issues as well. The original kickoff time of the game was 3 p.m. Organizers moved it to 3:30, then 4 p.m., and then the president came before 3:30. Then they moved the kickoff time back to 3:30 so the president didn't have to wait for too long. It was ridiculous. It was almost as if we were watching some playground acting or whatever happen. It's like community football. It's like the owner of the football hasn't come, so let's wait. We'll play it at 4. The owner comes before 4, so the owner is here, so now we can start. I mean, Shadow, you're a football administrator. Obviously, these are things that don't necessarily enthuse the fans or encourage the fans because people plan around kickoff times. So if the game is at 3 and I have something to do at 5, I say, okay, I can dash the game, leave at 5 because by that time the match is over. You go, they say kickoff time is now at 4 o'clock. I mean, what did you make of all of that?
Well, my biggest issue was even the health of the players. Remember, they had to come out to do the warm-up with a 3 p.m. kickoff time as the plan. Yeah. Then they had to go off and they had to come back again. I mean, my fear, I really never had a problem with attaching this game to the President's Cup in principle. But my fear is that once you do that, you allow the control and the organization of the game out of your hands. And that's exactly what happened. And looking at how things played out, for me personally, I'm quite embarrassed, to be honest with you. Yeah. I know how difficult it was for the GFA to make such a compromise. But clearly, like a lot of people have held in the past, we didn't plan for this. It's quite clear we didn't plan for this. And it's sad that it had to play out the way it did. And it affected a lot of things. It affected attendance, and like I said, the most important thing, the health of the players. Yeah. I really hope that based on the criticisms that GACA, the GFA, and the clubs have received with this organization, going forward, if we know that 6th of March is the day we want to reserve for the President's Cup, we must set this plan for this. And that's how come all these things are playing out. And for me, I'm embarrassed, to be honest with you. I'm embarrassed as a sports administrator who is always championing the cause of how we do our things and hoping that things will get better. For things to play out like this, for us to lose the public, for me, it's quite embarrassing.
Sicho, not the first time. Last year, the President's Cup, exactly the same thing. The kickoff time had to be moved. I mean, last week, you guys spoke extensively about the circumstances around this match. Let's not focus on even how that became. Like Amini said, lots of compromises were made. They should not have been made. Those opinions have been expressed very strongly. But on the day itself, when it arrived, there were even bigger problems than the concerns we had before the match.
Have you seen league fixtures that has no attachment with an exhibition game being shifted to 4 o'clock and coming back to 3:30 before? in this country. Have you seen it before? So when
it's like comedy of errors.
You pick the word ridiculous, and the first thing that is ridiculous about all of this was the agreement that we could merge the President's Cup and then the league. And Aminu said something. Once you do that, it takes some control away from the organizers of the league.
That's right.
Because you're playing that league game as an exhibition game to honor someone, the president of the land. And until he is there to kick the game off, you cannot kick off. And so when
there's that role confusion, you're spot on. GFA organizes the league, GACA organizes the president.
To even drag it, if the president had chosen to come at 6 p.m.
Yes. You are playing at 6. Because last year, the President Cup didn't start on time.
Yes.
Because the President wasn't there on time. Or, difficult to say he wasn't there on time. I don't know the time
No,
they
he
gave
wasn't there at the agreed kickoff time.
At the agreed kickoff time.
Or the advertised
kickoff time. That is the right word to use. And that is the and I said it here weeks ago, 2 weeks or last week, that it will have every problem. One, for even broadcasters. Because that game, as President Cup, should be free for all Ghanaians to see.
Yep.
But if it's a league fixture that has a paid TV as your broadcaster,
there you go.
You cannot put it out there for free. So the organization, and I'm happy he's here as a football administrator. He's mentioned the health of the players, which is crucial. It is key. And I told you,
2 warm-ups.
Even for coaches, in sporting sense, it's practically impossible to psych players for those 2 things. Because there are 2 different things to do. So yes, this mistake has been made, and as Aminu said, we should know that around this time of the year, every time, we are going to be having such fixture. So we can plan for it. If that means that both Hearts and Kotoko around this time of the year would have to have an outstanding game, plan for it. There's nothing. I'm all for it. Just plan for it so that we don't mix the exhibition with the league fixture. Otherwise, it compromises it. And now, who do you blame for the late kickoff? Is it Galka or the GFA? Because it was a league game, it was a Galka's competition. So there is that. And I think we can now focus on the game now that all of us have agreed that we could have done a lot better with that organization.
Organization aside, it's hard to foot Kotoko. We all expected that despite the problems, the attendance issues that we've had in the past, especially this season, let me put it that way, at league centres, there's always that inkling that when it comes to Hearts of Oak and Kotoko...
Jackpot.
Yes, exactly. We would get the fans, at least a decent number. The fans in the stadium yesterday was far from decent.
It was we don't necessarily want to have Hearts and Kotoko around that time. And if the president has to also then travel to Ho or Adaklu for the 6th match today, you don't know his traveling schedule. Maybe that game had to be played early enough for him to have his time to go to Adaklu for the 6th match today. He's on Adaklu today. That's where they held the 6th match. So that could also have affected the time. And the fact that we don't want to encourage Hearts and Kotoko around that time. Also, both teams do not have star attractions or enough quality to want people to go to their games. And that is where Hearts and Kotoko need to raise their hand up and take some blame. Because when you look at 2 years ago, we're watching Nete, Afutu, Boche, Moa Hassan in some form. We're watching
Even last season,
we're
looking at the Cameroonians,
very competitive teams competing. This season, the story is not the same. And take it or leave it, people go to the stadium to want to go enjoy football from good footballers. And who was the star player going into the game? Who was the poster boy between the 2 teams? Who were you going to watch?
Mukwala.
Last year, we could have gone to watch Gama, Etuga, Banye. Who are you going to watch this year?
Mukwala, Yonde.
Charlie, Mukwala did score away from home. It's not part of that conversation. I mean, you said you have to. You said so there is that. And also, football is entertainment.
It is entertainment.
You have to be comfortable enough to want to have entertainment. If you're not comfortable enough to want to have entertainment, you won't think football. Because the truth of the matter is, it's expensive to access the Accra Sports. In fact, for all the national stadiums in the country, it's between Accra Sports Stadium and the Cape Coast Stadium. They're the most difficult places to access for football. In and out. And I think building the infrastructure, the planning of how to get fans in and get fans out wasn't necessary.
What's the issue with access?
Access, transportation. Because the average football fan needs Trotsky to get there. And Trotskys don't fly that Accra Sports Stadium or Cape Coast enough. So people are considering, I need to pick an Uber, I need to pick a taxi. I'll sit home and watch on TV, or I'll sit home and watch Manchester United and Chelsea. There's all of those complications. Ultimately, there's a drop in quality in the league this season. And we've not done enough to promote and market the league. And that is why I'm disappointed that football administrators say they have 1 million to market the league, and we had nothing about Hearts and Kotoko going into this game in terms of promotion and marketing.
I mean, you've been very loud with a slightly different perspective on what you think is the reason there's low attendance. In fact, you don't agree that there is a general issue of low attendance. You think it's a big city problem. Is that really the situation? Or you were shocked yesterday? Yesterday, your theory was proven wrong.
I wasn't shocked at all. I mean, the facts are very, very clear, even through observation. There's across board aggregately, there's a significant drop in attendance to match venues of our various Premier Leagues. And I think Sicho mentioned something. There's a reason why fans will feel very comfortable to attend matches at the Jendu Park rather than go to the Esipon Stadium, even though it has a better feel or is user-friendly, even more than the Jendu Park. Now, back to this specific game, the Hearts and Kotoko. Yeah. I have come to the conclusion that for big clubs like Hearts and Kotoko, who naturally command some level of appeal and attraction, for you to stimulate that attraction to bring in the numbers, they need to have is linked with results. And 2 seasons ago proves this. In the season where Hearts of Oak and Kotoko were vying for the Premier League, they were neck to neck. I think Hearts was first, Kotoko was second, I think 1 point difference.
That's right.
And that match was almost like a decider.
Yeah.
The Accra Sports Stadium was filled. It's the same venue, it's the same set of fans you are sending this brand to. Why is it that they are not going there? And I reckon, even if that match was played at 10 a.m., the stadium will still be filled up. Yeah. Because both teams were, proud to even playing that game, the last 5 games going into that game, they were winning. They were on a roll. Yeah. And the vibe and the feel about these clubs was there. So I wasn't surprised at all. I was actually expecting the poor attendance because in the lead up to this game, both teams have had very, very inconsistent forms. True. They are not winning at all. House of Oak in particular, the main story, the top story was about sacking
the fans sacked their own coach.
Their own coach. All these things doesn't bode well for a game of this magnitude. Okay, for other clubs, there are other peculiar reasons why we are not filling our stadiums. But then for these two big clubs, it's very, very clear. Once you get the performance, if you are selling, and Abuedu House was selling really, really good entertainment football. Yeah. I remember when they played Olympics, and at the height of COVID, when there was 25%.
They broke the gates.
They broke the gates because the attraction was there. People wanted to see
the noisiest I've heard as a commentator in any game that I've run.
You get it.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you an interesting story. 2 of my former bosses, and I can name names here. Samuel Atamensa, CEO of City, and Gabi Ochedako, where Gabi is an Olympics fan. You remember they went to present him at the jersey.
Yes.
They were trying to access the game.
Yeah. They were stopped at the
and I spent several minutes on the phone trying to tell them how to access the game, and they had tickets.
Yes.
They just simply couldn't get in.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of the share numbers that.
Yes. It was the loudest
I've heard. 2020. So at the height of COVID.
So for these 2 teams, it's clear cut. Yes, other things like marketing and all those things can come in. But when they are doing well and when they have consistent performance and the results are coming, the fans will troop in. For other clubs, it's a bit more complicated. For instance, my club, Dreams FC, is a Zongo club born in the Mamobinima Newtown Enclave. True. But we play our football 80 kilometers away from our fans. Yeah. We don't, our engagement with the township of Dewu is not as good as when they were doing a lot of community engagement. So now, if I look at the data, clearly, fans trooping to watch Dreams FC has dropped significantly because we are not doing enough.
Dreams used to be one of those venues where
you just
people were excited, even journalists were excited.
Yeah, for peculiar reasons. You just and the food.
No, you don't care. I mean, you're starving the people.
So yes, it's my failure. It's the failure of my club, and it's something that, as a club official and my board, we need to look critically about. And that's how come
you have been looking critical. You are not fixing the problem. See, the general manager is sitting here and telling us that they need to look critically at it. He's known about the problem for how long?
No, but the first thing is to accept that there's that problem. Then you can look at how to tackle it.
No, but then that's
where... He accepted 2 seasons ago there was a problem. That's why 2 years later, he still was...
I agree, Bet Power says they have $1 million for promotion of the league. The effect of that promotion is not being felt at all. It's clear. And I'm saying that And I've proposed this to the FA.
This is Bet Power's fault.
I'm not saying it's Bet Power's fault, but if you have such a fund for promotion of the league, the best vehicle to promote a league is channeled through the clubs.
Here's my question. At the announcement, the GFA did not say Bet Power were going to use $1 million to promote the league. They said they were going to invest $1 million of the sponsorship money into marketing. I have said in the past that it was a communication gaffe that the GFA have now found themselves in, and it's become an albatross, and they can't go back on their words. The truth of the matter is, the GFA do not actually have $1 million to invest in marketing. This is a fact. If you go to the ask, they don't have $1 million from that sponsorship money to invest in marketing. It's a fact. At the announcement, they said they were going to invest $1 million into marketing. What they didn't tell you was that it was Bet Power who said, as part of the sponsorship deal, we will use $1 million to invest in marketing. The GFA didn't communicate it like that. They communicated it as if Bet Power was giving them the money and they were going to take $1 million to invest in marketing. And so now, when everybody speaks about that $1 million in marketing, they ask the GFA, you say you have $1 million for marketing, where is the money or what are you using it for? The truth is, they don't have it, but they can't tell you that. Because they had already said they were going to invest the money into marketing, but the money is not with them.
But what
we should be asking Bet Power. It's like Star Times, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Star Times, in the case of Star Times, they said they were going to invest that amount of money into marketing and production.
And production, which they are doing.
Exactly, which they're doing. So that was money that they would spend.
Because
How
I
they
tell you
spend
what,
it,
the biggest signboards, billboards you see in the Ghana Premier League is from Star Times.
Yes.
In Ghana.
So
across the country.
Here's Shadow. He's very close to GFA. He's a football administrator, of course, but he's close to the GFA. I mean, what I said, do you have a contrary opinion? Does the GFA actually have that $1 million?
I don't have. I'm very, very clear. What you said is actually the facts. And when clubs were engaged about this sponsorship, it was very, very clear that the money that was coming to the GFA for onward transmission to clubs and other stakeholders was 1 million.
Yes.
The other 1 million.
The 2 million.
The other 1 million is from the sponsor. It's the sponsor's own prerogative. But my contention here is that Bet Power, you want to promote the league. The league, if and which better way do you promote the league than channel it through the clubs? Because the clubs need these resources to actually promote the league. The clubs are the best promoters of the products in the Premier League. Right. And if they are not getting this access to these funds to promote the league, then we'll have a problem. Then whatever you do with that 1 million will not be as effective as if you channel it through the club. So my contention
in other words, what are they actually doing with the 1 million? What have you seen?
Exactly. And there's
the 1 million for promotion and marketing. What have you seen?
And because it's within their bosom, there's no way to even verify whether indeed
it's working.
They are spending that much. So it's a lot.
I agree with Aminu because promotion is specific. What he would do with the promotional money in the fans.
Yes.
It's different from what we've done in
exactly.
Agreed.
Because the fan culture is different.
It's
the relationship with the fan
you
is
can't use the same brush to paint everybody.
I agree.
Billboards might be effective in the bigger cities, but might not be too effective in the smaller cities like they would. Maybe the vans, the small vans, the announcement vans and all that would be better. But they wouldn't know that. Yeah. They think it's 1 million, okay, we are just going to put billboards. That is not enough.
Yeah. I agree. All right, let's hear from you. Use the hashtag SportsZone on Twitter. Some of you are sending us your thoughts. I will try and read some of them as the show goes on. Also, we're taking WhatsApp messages today, so just send me a message, 055 11 11 997. It's a really simple number. Save it at SportsZone every Monday night. Send us a message, 055 11 11 997. Those messages will be forwarded to me, and I'll read them for you. So let me know, what do you think can be done to attract fans to the stadium? And you watching at home in particular, in your case, why are you not going to the stadium to watch Ghana Premier League games? Because this is an academic exercise. We're trying to find out from the viewers. Maybe you used to go to the stadium, now you don't. Why? What has changed? Or is it what some people believe is the situation that the economy had? So some people are now looking at bread and butter issues. Why should they take money and then go all the way to the stadium to go and watch a game when that money can provide them breakfast tomorrow morning? Or what is your own peculiar reason why you don't, or you no longer go to or will not go to the stadium to watch a Ghana Premier League match? But before we go, I just want to say this, that for a football fan, And this is one of our biggest problems. We want to develop the league. We want to develop our football. It's a collective effort. As a football fan, you also don't get to choose when to support the team. You make a decision to support the team, it's for life. Okay? So the guys make good points about the lack of performance. But you don't stop supporting your team when they're not performing. You don't stop going to the stadium when they're not performing. Otherwise, then Stamford Bridge will be empty every day. That's the point. And that's the difference between our attitudes as fans here and the attitude of the European fan.
Yeah.
So
there was a time, Derby County, they came to the Premier League. They went into relegation. They didn't win a single game, or I believe they won like 2 or 3 matches. They still had fans filling the stadium every single weekend. So you can't pick and choose. You make a decision, stick with it. Let's always be there to support the teams through thick and thin. That's what makes you a fan. That's what sets you apart from another person. You can't be shouting, I'm a Kotoko fan and Porcupine Warriors. They ask you today, what's the...
But this is a goal that could have easily been dealt with. I think Kotoko set up for this defensively was poor. Because when you're defending set piece,
very open.
When you're defending set piece, you're looking at where the attacking team is crowding. That is where you want to set blockers to the run, or you also want to get people to man-mark them. It appears Kotoko set 2 banks of defensive blocks, and there was a big space between the 2 banks. And in that big space is where Hearts attackers were. And when the ball was swinging, Danlas should have, at his level, should have judged that with the flight and the bend on the ball, there's no way in a million years he was going to get there first.
He came a very long way.
And the ball was still bending away. And that's the difficulty with a ball that is swinging away. You're not quite sure if the swing and the bend, you're going to meet it in time.
Yeah. When you go that far out, you better be getting the ball. Absolutely.
It's a rule.
But then this has been the feature of Kotoko's game. They considered a similar goal against us when they played in Dewu through a set piece. And I'm beginning to wonder, with all the technology available to Kotoko, with their view and all that, and with their video analysts and all that, I'm very, very surprised that this way of conceding keeps occurring for Kotoko. I'm dead sure that the next time they concede, it's more likely to come from a set piece.
And in the return fixture, in the first leg, Caliber must pass called
exactly. Anyway, so there's that. Let me show you the 4 results from the Ghana Premier League this weekend, because this was another Premier League game, of course, apart from the fact that it was a President's Cup. So there you see the first result there, Hearts of Oak winning 1-0. Midiama, 1-0 winners over Brecum Chelsea. Tamale City losing at home to Accra Lions. That victory for Lions is taking them second on the league table, behind the Ghana Stars, who are comfortably at the top. Lagos City's RTU 1-1 draw is Hatreman, 2-1 winners over Kotoku Royals. Bechem United humbling Bibiani Gold Stars 2-0. And Samatex also beating Ghana Stars by 1-0. Despite the defeat, Ghana Stars still stay top. And it looks like if they can get a good run together, they could actually win this league title. Anyway, one more thing before we switch our attention to something more important. I have an idea for the people organizing the President's Cup. I think, first of all, Galka is lazy, very, very lazy, and they have not shown that they have the ability to be innovative. That's my opinion. That's the only reason we ended up with what we've ended up. So here is free advice. You're not paying me, Galka, you're not paying me anything, but get this free idea. Start now. Sit down now. The government has done a wonderful thing where they move the Independence Day celebration from one capital to the other, one city to the other. Every single year is celebrated in a different region. Do the same thing with the President's Cup. Marry it with the Independence Day celebration. That's how the competition came about. It is used to celebrate the president around independence. So if a decision is now being made to move the Independence Day celebration from region to region, move the President's Cup from region to region, and find the 2 biggest clubs in each region to play the President's Cup a day before the Independence Day celebration.
End of
it
story.
really is that simple. So here's the idea. And it actually, this is where the government comes in. Put pressure on the government. Let them finish, and that's my next topic, those 10 youth resource centers. Each of them has a seating capacity of 5,000. 5,000. It can host people for Independence Day celebration. We saw that in Ho on Sunday. that venue can host the President's Cup the day before every Independence Day celebration. Volta region, for example, the pitch there is ready. The seating capacity is 5,000. Okay? Yesterday, they could have played the President's Cup in that venue between Volta regions and maybe Heart of Lions. The president would be there. He would already be there for the independence celebration anyway. He would witness that the day before. When you go to Tamale, RTU versus maybe Tamale City, the day before the Independence Day celebration. It's a massive sell. You don't even need to do anything. You go to Kumasi, find Kotoko, and maybe King Faisal, or even if it has to be Asante Kotoko, and yes, that's it. On our Ashanti Gold. The day before.
Ashanti Gold.
Go to Cape Coast. Well, Ashanti Gold. Ashanti Gold. Okay, I get your point. No, but you get my drift.
But I like what you say, because if at the end of the day, Hearts and Kotoko is going to go out for a free game to everybody, which means I don't make money.
Yeah, but I think Gaka flirted with this idea, I think some years back under Alhaji Raji, where they played regional derbies for a President's Cup. The only problem is that they didn't really market it and really sell it well.
That's
but
the
then
point.
It was a very, very good idea. And
it was a good idea to pick up on it. And like I said, now it's actually even set for them with the construction of these youth resource centers. Yeah. Once they're all completed, those could become the new venues for the President's Cup. Every year, move it around.
Question is, when will they be completed?
Exactly. Speaking about that question, here, we have promised you that we will bring you, and facility construction is important. Sporting facilities. Aminu would tell you, Sitcho has been saying it a long time. It doesn't matter who is in power as GFA president. If the government doesn't have a clear policy on sports, we're not going anywhere. The government said it had a policy to alleviate our massive infrastructural deficit when it comes to sports. So they set out to construct 10 youth resource centers across the country. This was the first shovel was put on the ground in February 2018. In Ho, that facility was to take 9 months to complete. 5 years later, those facilities are worse off than the day they started digging there. So we started a project here at Joy Sports called Bush Resource Centers, and we started off at the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex. That facility is the Greater Accra's very own youth resource center that should have a running track, an ICT center, a football pitch, standard. It should have a boxing gym, basketball court, swimming pool. All these facilities should be there for the youth of Greater Accra. Well, people of Greater Accra, this is what your youth resource center looks like. This is the Azuma Nelson Sports Youth Resource Center, named after legendary Ghanaian boxer Azuma Nelson. The facility was supposed to serve as a multi-purpose sports center, fit enough to accommodate more than 40 different sporting disciplines when completed. Also known as the Kanishi Sports Complex, the facility was built during the era of the Supreme Military Council and the General Achampong in the 1970s. It served as a training base for teams during AFCON 1978, which Ghana hosted and won. Since then, however, years of neglect had placed on the back burner the plans of the people running sports in the country. Various governments had made promises to upgrade the facility to its stature as a functioning multipurpose sports center, but none had made good on their promises. But in March 2018, then Sports Minister Isaac Esiama finally commissioned renovation works to start on the facility.
We are securing the future of Ghana sports through this investment. And I can tell you, in the next 20 years, Ghanaians will remember one person called President Kufuor for the huge investment he made in sports. This huge one. Across the country, we are going to do all these things. By November, you will see 10 multipurpose youth centers. That can take off about 5,000 people. Sitting capacity 5,000. So we can even play some of the national matches. Understand? Yes, big matches. Black Queens can come and play maybe in Wa, because we're going to do one in Wa. They can go to Navrongo, go do one in Navrongo. They can go to Nyahini, go do one in Nyahini. So it's going to be across the country, spread across the country, so that everywhere you go, you have quality, modern sporting facility.
That was former Sports Minister Isaac Esiama in March 2018. It was supposed to be the dawn of a new era for sports infrastructure in the country. When completed, it was supposed to seat up to 5,000 people with a swimming pool and all kinds of adjoining facilities, including a running track to go with. And it was supposed to cost some $4 million and just 9 months to complete.
Each contractor has 9 months to complete the project. If we factor in the rainy season, it depends on the intensity of rain. It could go up to 11 or 12 months, not more.
But nearly 5 years later, this is the state of the project. In December of 2021, the new sports minister, Mustafa Yusuf, stated that the project was 90% complete.
If we are going to be able to identify talent in the various regions or our various communities, we can't do that without these facilities being completed. So government is committed, especially when we have already invested so much in these facilities. We can't abandon. And it's the same government. Government is continuous. And so the assurance that they're getting from me, what I've realized that it was in phases. So we have phase 1, phase 2. So currently, I've engaged the consultant working on it and also the National Youth Authority, which is the agency that supervises those projects. So I can give you assurance that yes, those facilities will be completed on time, so that the identification of talent in the various regions where we have this facility, we can use those as a center. Even as one Nation Sports Complex, Carnation Sports Complex can also even be used during the games.
Of course.
People can go there and compete, especially on football. It's media standard. So it's something that we are working on, and to ensure that we get it done. Some of them were 90%, 70%, and 80%. There are various stages of completion.
And he wasn't wrong, because at the time, the stands were done, the pitch was done. It was looking green and lush. But barely a year later, this is the state of it. Abandoned and left to become a breeding ground for all kinds of reptiles. The Azuma Nelson Sports Complex is not befitting of the legend it's named after. In its current state, only animals can play sport here. At the time of abandonment, the project was indeed close to completion. With the VIP stand constructed and roofed, the 4 stands constructed and the seats fixed. The drainage system had also been done, and the groundwork had been prepared for the tartan tracks to be laid. All of that, however, has now been left to rot. The compound is bordered by walls of weeds, and the facility, in totality, has now become a breeding ground for reptiles, which have made here a happy home. Dammers and moles have eaten the white paint-coated goalposts, giving them an unpleasant look of distress. The football pitch is strangled by weeds, with the VIP stand divided by a risky pit. The renovation of the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex, also known as the Carnation Sports Complex, was part of government's aggressive sports infrastructural drive and is the first of 10 being constructed across the country. Government said it formed part of efforts to address the sports infrastructure deficit in Ghana. The facilities, when completed, would each house an 8-lane athletic track, a FIFA standard pitch, career counseling center, basketball and handball courts, as well as a multi-purpose sports hall, a restaurant, and an ICT center. The mini stadiums would also have a seating capacity of 5,000. The most disappointing thing about this place is that it looks like it was actually this close to completion. A majority of the money had already been spent, and what was left to finish the project was only a fraction. But that fraction hasn't come. And of course the contractors departed, and the place has now degenerated into this eyesore. Well, that's the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex. It's what it is now, 5 years after its renovation started. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we have a lot more to delve into, including... Glory, glory. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Sports Zone on Joy Prime, brought to you by Hunters, another product from Casa Preco. I understand that the women like Hunters a lot, so, Sicho would know.
I don't.
Not you. I said the women like Hunters a lot.
How do you know?
Coming from you.
How do you know?
Today's a
like,
holiday.
Yeah.
You took your girlfriend out, did you not?
She doesn't drink. She doesn't drink. I will know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are telling me?
Yeah. Well, he said I'm telling you. So I'm telling him the Hunters is nice.
Oh my God.
Hunters is nice. Anyway, so that's that. We will have more for you on these youth resource centers. The Koforidua one, a report will air on Wednesday. We'll get answers from the National Youth Authority as well as the Sports Ministry. But the main purpose of this is to put pressure on the authorities to try and finish it. Because listen, sports can become the savior of the youth. Okay? Because if we complete these facilities, we give the youth something to do. And some of them could go on to become professionals and escape poverty. Every single successful footballer here is a breadwinner in this country. Unlike elsewhere, in this country, every successful footballer is a breadwinner. And he can lift an entire family out of poverty. That is pressure off the government.
Whole community.
And so much more. Look at what Christian Achu has shown. That one successful footballer can change the lives of many people.
Sadio Mane doing it in his village.
Look at what Sadio Mane is doing. Look at what Hasamajan has done. He's created more businesses. Many more Ghanaians are benefiting. We need to give them the platform. We need to encourage this. And these facilities are the most basic of what we can give them to start off from somewhere and get an interest in there to perfect their craft. Because trust me, it looks like now everything is politics and very little is about nation building. Sports could become that tool that will not only serve as a uniting factor, but also one that could lift many out of poverty. And it starts with having facilities at the right place. The government has already said, you've started the project, finish the projects. Because there's guaranteed funding, 5% from the common fund. That money goes to the NYA unfailingly every single month. Why aren't you spending the money as quickly as possible? Because where's the responsibility? You can finish this project in 6 years or 7 years. But what you originally budgeted to use for the project would have quadrupled. That excess money, because of the delay, who takes responsibility? Once again, it comes back to the taxpayers. It's unacceptable. Because for somebody's negligence, and you see, most of these things are because of quibblings, petty quibblings. Because these projects that was the last 9 months, some of them have 3 contractors that have changed hands. The contract has changed hands 3 times to 3 different people. A very small project. It's a small sports complex. One person has signed a contract. Some of them have the 3rd contractors working on them after 5 years. What is that? Because somebody else has to chop, so they cancel this one's contract when this one comes to power. Between the period when they started the construction of these facilities, we've had as many as 4 different CEOs at the NYA. What is this? The NYA that is primarily funding this project have had 4 different CEOs. It started with Asigri. Sly came in. There was another person that was acting for a while, and now Pius is in charge. 5 years, 4 CEOs. What is that? And it appears to me everybody wants their own favorite contractor on site. And so the one they come to meet, they're unwilling to sign money for them to finish the project. Or what is this? What is this? And the last thing I will say on this is, so long as we have committed to finishing this project, let's make sure every facility there is standard. The entire Greater Accra region has no functioning athletic track.
No.
We want to produce athletes. And some of you are sitting behind your television and watching Azamati and you want him to succeed. And when Azamati doesn't do well, then you go and say, he's wasted my time. I sat here, I was sharing for him. He didn't do well. The whole Greater Accra region, there's no functioning athletic track. Where should the athletes or the young people train to perfect their craft and start to win medals for the country? Where? No track at Accra Sports Stadium. That was removed during AFCON 2008. There's no track at Elwak. That place is a massive death trap. No track at Kaneshi. And now the Kaneshi Sports Complex should have one. Of course, Legon will have one because it will host the Africa Games. But the point I'm trying to make here is all the 10 youth resource centers that the government is constructing are supposed to have an 8-lane athletic track. That athletic track has to be standard. Look at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. It was just renovated. It was closed down for renovation. In fact, in late 2019 for Independence Day celebration in 2020. During that period, they fixed a new track, but the track was not standardized. It wasn't certified. They just went to put some quota out there and then put something on top of it. Now go and see. After just 2 years, it's filled with black spots. Mundo is the only world-certified athletic track manufacturer in the world. They have the standardization, they have the specification, they have the experts. Every certified track in the world by World Athletics comes from Mundo. If Mundo doesn't certify your track, no matter what you do on that track, your records will never be recognized. Go and ask Nigeria. They hosted the African Athletics Championship in 2018. Africa Athletics Championship in 2018. The track wasn't certified. Every single record set on that track was scrapped. Baba Yara Sports Stadium, now listen to this. Baba Yara Sports Stadium, the track is not certified. Any record anybody runs on that track is illegal. It's not. Now we are doing 10 tracks across the country, and what I understand is not a single one of them is being certified by Mundo. We will finish all these facilities, and not a single one of those tracks be a standard track. Have we gone forward or have we gone backward? I know there are categories of the track. The most basic one, community one, the middle class one, and the highest spec. The highest spec was what you saw at Tokyo 2020. That is what we're fixing at the Lagos Sports Stadium towards the Africa Games. I know it costs around 600,000 euros. The community one is also standard. That will cost less than 300,000. For a facility that costs 4 million to do, it makes sense to invest that much into making sure you have a standard athletic track. Let's do that now, before it's too late. Even in Fancy Film School, are building a sports complex. Their athletic track has been certified by Mundo. They paid money. This is a secondary school in Ghana. The government is constructing 10 facilities, and not one of them will have a certified standard athletic track. And not one record run on any of them will be deemed valid. This makes no sense. It's not too late. The athletic tracks in all of those facilities have not been fixed, except the one they rushed to go and do in Ho. The rest of them, let's make sure we fix standard tracks so that these kids can strive for records. And we can begin to host even Diamond League competitions here, or what have you. So that's my one piece of advice regarding these tracks. But let's go to England now. Yesterday, Manchester United were humbled at Anfield. They took 7-0, and there are no words really to describe what happened. Let's roll the highlights. Benaya, from Anfield, really, this is it. Sicho, I mean, you're a United fan.
Who says so?
Just fell up. What happened?
Okay, thank you. So you see, just as you said, United were in great form. That's the statement. That's the general statement. They were. That is the thing. They were winning. So it looked as if they were doing well. They were getting away with some very slow starts to games. We saw that in the game against Leeds. We saw that in some of the game against Barca. In fact, in the game against West Ham, we saw it in the FA Cup. Yeah. So they were getting away with those things. And I said it that they can't keep getting away with slow starts to game. And the second half against Liverpool is a typical example of how slow they started in that half, where Liverpool's intensity was a lot better. But ultimately, I think Ten Hag and Manchester United thought that they were in a great shape and Liverpool were not doing well. And they didn't give Liverpool the respect that they deserved at Anfield. It doesn't matter what kind of Liverpool team you face these days at Anfield. You need to give them that kind of respect. I thought United were very, very open a lot. And the system in itself exposed certain players. The way Ten Hag wanted his forward players to press meant that Anthony could not track back enough to help Dalot. Because if you watch the game, Liverpool targeted that side. And that wasn't because Dalot couldn't defend. That was because they knew the United's press, which often had Rashford and Dalot pressing the two centre-backs, would mean that Anthony couldn't track back to help Dalot. So they would have Gakpo down. He was about the worst Man United player because he wasn't concentrating on the game. And that in itself is a problem. So yeah, I think United, and here's the thing. I've seen United teams that have played worse than this, but they will not concede 7 because they will stop the rot.
Right.
But as soon as the third goal went in, players started dropping their heads, people started complaining, and nobody really cared about stopping the rot from going on. And that can't continue for any elite side.
And this is not the first time this has happened this season, is it? Because Man City put 6 past United.
Yeah. And so when United are playing well, they enjoy it. But when it's not going their way and it's unraveling very fast, it gets worse. And when you watch the game against Brighton, when they conceded 4 goals, got the Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, and the fact that Salah on the day became the Salah we've become accustomed to, Liverpool were just unstoppable.
Quick thoughts on Salah.
Liverpool's
highest goal scorer of all time, and it took him just 5 years to get there.
World class.
Robbie Fowler had played almost like half of his life at Liverpool. And in just 5 years.
Yeah. And people complain about the fact that he doesn't always pass the ball. But during his time, nobody has also assisted more goals or created more chances than him. And we saw the pass that he set up for Darwin Núñez, for Gakpo, for his that dink over the goalkeeper. Yes, his second goal.
All I'll say about this game is that United needed this. We are not there yet. So I think we are expecting a reaction in the Europa League game. We'll play on Thursday.
Yeah, I get it.
It has been long coming because if you critically analyze United's game, you were getting away with a lot of things. Teams weren't punishing them enough for the mistakes they were making. On this occasion, they didn't get away with it at all. And they were really, really exposed.
They got away all right with 7.
And Eric Ten Hag was at work at 7 a.m. today.
Yeah.
The number 7 keeps worried about.
Yeah. You saw the joke, right? He said somebody, his wife woke him up and said, "Hey, baby, wake up! It's 8 o'clock." He said, Liverpool scored again.
Liverpool and you wonder if Liverpool. And now it opens up the possibility for Liverpool to get into that top 4, which will be crucial. Yeah. Because they need to rebuild.
But they're what, 7 points?
Yes, they are 7 points behind that. And they need to rebuild. And if they have to rebuild, they might need Champions League football to bring in the bodies.
Chelsea got a first win in 1 billion years. But Sitcho, quick thoughts.
Yeah.
Not on that game in particular. They got the victory all right. Wesley Fofana with the header. But they play Dortmund tomorrow. On Tuesday, they lost 1-0 from the first leg. And there you see the first leg result. There's also Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich, of course. Bayern also winning the first leg 1-0. Paris Saint-Germain will be without a key man in Neymar. He's out. The rest of his season is done. Around the time, my sister will be celebrating her birthday. Interesting.
We're going back to Brazil. It's party time.
Once again. But briefly, what do you think will happen in that Dortmund-Chelsea game?
I think Chelsea can win.
Yeah.
Because even in the first leg in Germany, Chelsea created a better chances. Yeah. They were just not clinical enough. If they can find that clinical edge, they can win. But the problem, they are playing against a Dortmund team that in all of Europe in 2023, it looks like they have the more consistent run of form. So it's a game that could go either way, and I'm thrilled to want to see it.
Thank you very much, Icho. Thank you, Amino. This was lovely. Ghanaian players abroad. That segment will be up on our website, so do check it out. Lots of Ghanaian players did really well this weekend, and then we will tweet all of them on our social media as well. So make sure you check it out there. My name is Fentio, Tahir Fentio. Thanks so much for choosing to stay with us. The show brought to you by Hunters, another product from Casa Preco. Until next time, though, it's been lovely coming your way. Take care and bye-bye.